Hello and welcome everyone, a new episode of Money Means Business. Today we are going to have two main files. First, the inspection tour of today. Our Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli in Nasr Automotive Company. I'm that proud to speak about this veteran company and to know more about its comeback to the market, manufacturing cars, vehicles, electric vehicles, minibuses, you name it. And the second segment is going to be totally dedicated to COP29 and the economic files in specific regarding to this important meeting, and also the Egyptian participation in this summit in Baku, Azerbaijan. Before we start, let me first welcome my dear guest live here in the studio, Dr. Gamal Al-Qayyoubi, Professor of Petroleum and Energy. Thank you very much for being with us, sir.
Good evening to you.
And let's start immediately. As I said, we do have a lot to speak about, and today it's I think, a moment of history. When it comes to Nasr Automotive industry, we do have a lot of memories regarding Nasr company, and to know that it's back to work and it's going to witness a leap in its development, in its production, in its partnership even with international and local entities. These are some wonderful good news. Tell me first about the whole issue. I mean, we're going to go from the general to the specific. How do you see the return of Nasr company to the manufacturing market?
Well, you know, it's like you said, it's a very good expression in a deal with that one. It's very proud for Egyptians that we're dealing with a very intensity in industry which is coming to representative a lot of countries, specifically for automotives manufacturing in different types. Talk about electricity, we talk about even the normal standard fuels. But consider that part, it will be a part of successful story to Egyptians, specifically that's in the back and history, that we have a very good success stories in Abdel Nasser stage, and by very politics leaders which try to get a very nation manufacturing industry inside Egypt, and they try to deal with the international trade markets in terms of how to use the license of different market name of motives, like for example Fiat Italians. In the past 1960 we have been starting that part, and we succeed to put a local automotives in door for Egyptian. I think the story now is a very good successful story, how to build the philosophy to go directly for the industry and the party heavy industry for that one, that you know well that Egypt imported almost 4 billion Egyptian pound just expenditures to import a lot of different name of cars. By situation like that one, it will cover a part of economy. I closely we talk about 62% of the total import. It will be solved indoor inside Egypt, and I think that's a very good improvement and a good development for economy, Egyptian economy.
If you permit me, sir, I'm going to quote some of the statements which were released today in the press conference, or in the speech to be accurate, of Prime Minister Madbouli when he was witnessing the ceremony. He said that it's a treasure, despite the fact that the factory stopped for 15 years, but still there are potentials which we cannot neglect. How do you see these statements by our Premier, our Prime Minister?
Is a good sentence, and also it's an economy sentence, because it's representative, like I said to you, how that's we pay a lot of our incomes just to bring and import a lot of different types of automotives. The part of that one is specific, not only the limousine cars, or not only the buses, or not only even the half-heavy trucks, but we talk about a portion of Egyptian, their dreams to bring a cars or to obtain an order of a car. So in situation like economists like looking for that one, we try to accommodate such conditions for all our population, and this is really important. So tertiary of that one is important to achieve the goals of what we are looking as a population.
Sustainability, and this is going to lead me to this word, sustainability, because the Prime Minister was keen to say that the state is really keen to guarantee the sustainability of the return of Al Nasr company. It's not only just to inaugurate this stage and that's it, but no. The sustainable production process by signing many strategic partnerships with the international bodies to make sure that the production process is going to continue and it's going to be activated from tomorrow. I mean, not in the long run. In addition to taking into consideration localizing industry, meaning the usage of our local components. If you want to also elaborate on that.
I think that's it. We have the all conditions as a Basel countries. We have a lot of materials. We have a long chain supplying material inclusively for all part of the cars, specifically in some part of technology. If we talk about in general 3 parts of the cars, when we go for that different types of the car, if you go for agencies, for example, Chinese, Italians, Europeans, all that, they already maintain their products in some certain conditions, some certain part of sharing. So they cannot give to you excluded everything to manufacture a complete of the car. So a part of that one, like what happened with Iran, like what happened in Malaysia, or like what happened also in some certain country in the Middle East, but not even happened in Morocco recently 6 months ago. So the BMW, for example, I'm not just highlight for any such type of cars, but I'm saying a dedicated cars like German cars like this one, when you deliver to Morocco, so the part of that one, they have certain over 40% of the total materials which contribute to the car, it can going through the local market. But still 60% of the technology, I'm talking about motors, motor mechanics part itself, electrician part itself, all that portion is mainly imported from Europe. So if you come to Egypt, we have a lot of engines, we have a lot of series of materials, we can fit it because as a country we have a very well done experimental working hands. We have a very good also approach of institute citizens in Egypt, allow to our peoples to go more deeper with type of training, with type of develop their skills. Some like this, it will be very quick approach by Egyptian attitude itself, and this is a good success portion of industry. If you have a people's keen to absorb any kind of experiences, any kind of technology, they can do it at once in compared to the others type of nationalities. But back again to the story, again, Egypt, they have the facilities to do that one. So the first approach that you get some agency, the second approach that we have some material we can comply with, the third that we have open markets, it can absorb a lot of fabrication and manufacturing of cars, so it can fit the all purposes of what Egyptian needs in a part of saving, part of money we deliver for importing, and part of that's it make a good cost for people's looking and their dreams to be a owner of a car.
I can also say, sir, that the return or the comeback of Al Nasr automotive company to work, and the ceremony which was held today, as an invitation or a call for all those who want to invest in this heavy industry, automotive industry, that they can come to Egypt, they can find their way, and it's easy to invade this market, if I may call it this way, as also one of the most important priorities of the state is to attract more foreign direct investment. And sir, and sure, industry is one of the pivotal sectors which we are really in need to invest in more and to attract more investors in this domain. True?
Right. Because, firstly, that we exposed a lot of visions about the infrastructure in Egypt. So that's the first one, which should try to facilitate all the basis of infrastructure in the way that ready to gain the industry and spread it across the whole country. That's first. Second one, that you have all facilities, specifically for electricity, energies. We have also a part of sustainable energy, which it's a part of a future for all Egypt, that we are targeting to using our advanced technology to be localized industry in Egypt in terms of using electricity car. That's one of our goals. Second, that we try to reduce the emission from the standard fossils fuel to be at less contamination, less emission of carbon, and we use a natural gas. So many varieties that we have a vision. The missing part is, where is the car? So we're already focusing in importing long-term time, and our short-term right now is to carry on to get some local manufacturing under the standard or the worldwide trade name of cars standardization, allow to us in the future, step by step, we are able to create and innovate one day our Egyptian local car, which
inshallah, and it's going to be in the very near future. But sir, if you permit me to add here something, that it was very much clear that all what's taking place today is based on scientific research.
Right.
That, well, the Minister, of course, of Industry, Engineer Kamel Wazir, was there, and Minister of Environment, Dr. Yasmin Fouad, was there, meaning that we are taking into consideration the environmental side of the coin, as you've kindly mentioned, and also to study well the needs of the local and international markets, because we want to build on a scientific base to make sure that it's going to turn into a story of success, not to give a space for any failure.
I wish to be in consequence like what you said, but if you go in a consequence quickly, first of all, that you need to stop and save some money. You try to expand it just to import some cars. So that's what we're looking for. Build the industry, and this is what we succeed. Second, we have some cars sharing with the international agencies, allow to us to go with more focusing for quality control. And this is very seriously important.
Sure.
If we succeed under their umbrella for terms and conditions standardization to produce a car meet the international criteria, so we succeed at all as industrial unit in Egypt to meet their commitment and quality controlling. Third one, that first we have trustability, quality controlling actions, and also orientation as per the global market needs, then we can easily to invade. Easily, just we have our own innovations to build 100% manufacturing, pre-mined, and this industry, inclusively material, by Egypt. And that's, we said, step by step, in certain scheduled time, had been already settled by industry ministry, and also under the umbrella of vision and focusing of our president. So the matter is, industry is a solution of Egypt economy. Portion by portion, the most important interest portion is coming from car industrial, because car industry is really a huge portion.
And heavy one.
Get it from our economy,
yeah.
even that
part. Well, we do have a lot to speak about regarding this, but we are going to dedicate the second part of our episode to COP29 and its economic files. So after the short break, we're going to return back with more. Stay tuned.
Countries are negotiating at the 29th Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, COP29, held under the slogan, "In Solidarity for a Green World," and held in Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan, on a new collective quantitative goal, NCQG, that is fair and ambitious on climate finance, that is commensurate with the needs and priorities of developing countries. This is in response to a decision taken at the United Nations Climate Change Summit COP21 in Paris in 2015. And countries agreed at this conference that the new goal should be set before 2025 from a minimum of $100 billion annually. According to reports issued at the COP29 Climate Summit, negotiations on climate finance should focus on mobilizing $1 trillion annually by 2030 for investment by emerging markets and developing countries, excluding China, to implement the Paris Agreement, and about $1.3 trillion by 2035. On the sidelines of the conference, Minister of Environment Dr. Yasmin Fouad pointed out the importance of ensuring the implementation of the Paris Agreement, especially with regard to the commitment of developed countries to provide financing to developing countries so that they can fulfill their obligations, especially providing countries with opportunities to access financing. Despite working to provide the goal of $100 billion in previous financing, countries do not have the ability to access it as a result of the bureaucracy facing financing environmental challenges in general. It is worth noting that addressing the effects of climate change requires large financial investments to be used in new energy systems and infrastructure that can withstand the effects of climate change. But inaction on climate action is much more costly, as countries of the world need to reduce their carbon emissions and adapt to climate change. But many developing countries lack the resources and technology to do so, which is why all countries agreed that industrialized countries with money and technological expertise should intensify and increase their financial support for climate action in developing countries. In light of Egypt's participation in the COP29 Climate Summit, Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli stressed that the failure of developed countries to commit to financing developing countries has led to the goals being delayed, as developing countries have demanded the provision of grants and soft loans, because it is difficult in light of the economic burdens to ask developing countries to implement new and renewable energy projects and reduce pollution, pointing out at the same time that Egypt has a major role in the field of climate through the launch of the climate strategy, the Sustainable Development Strategy, and the National Strategy for Low Carbon Hydrogen, with clear targets including that the percentage of new and renewable energy reach 42% by 2030. In a related context, the COP29 presidency and the Asian Development Bank met with a group of stakeholders from various sectors to discuss ways to stimulate the investments needed to achieve a fair transition to a low-carbon economy. The participants stressed the importance of directing investments towards sectors that contribute to reducing carbon emissions, such as renewable energy and electric vehicles. The need to provide financial and technological support to developing countries to help them transition to a low-carbon economy was also emphasized through climate finance mechanisms.
Welcome back. Ladies and gentlemen, Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli participated in the high-level segment of the 29th Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, COP29 in Azerbaijan, on behalf of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. And during his participation, Madbouli attended a roundtable entitled Energy Enhancing Climate Change Mitigation Measures, where he intervened in his session in the presence of Prime Ministers of Belgium, Slovakia, and the managing director of the International Monetary Fund, meaning that there is an economic side of this coin, of this summit, and this is going to be the core of the second segment of our episode. Dr. Gamal Madbouli said Egypt has done its utmost to provide the appropriate environment to implement ambitious renewable energy goal, which is to reach 42% of the renewable energy mix by 2030. How do you see the numbers?
Reality is, it's already figures out. It's a target for Egypt, not just because we are committed in general related to the Paris climate agreement, or even our COP27, which been held here in Egypt year before. So consider that as a goals. We have improvement almost 18% achieved currently of the total renewable energy in Egypt. If we talk about our figures in numbers, which try to clarify even to the world, not a matter of only at a figure to our delivered by our Prime Minister. It's currently we produce almost 6,900 megawatt. Portion of that one, 1,884 coming from solar, and almost 1,900 coming from wind itself. A portion of that one coming from hydro electricity, coming from high dam, and for rather reservoir dams, which it's Said Aswan Wahid 1 and Said Aswan 2 plus Ithna Naga Hamadi. In addition to the high dam, totally inclusively, we talk about 2,800 megawatts production. So inclusively for that part, you will find that as a part of that figure, and compared to the total production in Egypt from electricity itself, you consider that 18% had been achieved. The goals of our Prime Minister had been highlighted that it's a goal, mandatory, and the tendency of Egypt, as per our President goals, that we shall go directly to producing electricity from the renewable energies with different sections. We talk about by 2030, we as a country, our target is to produce renewable energy by 45%, no, 45%, and 55% will be inclusively concentrate on the fuel, the fossil fuel. I back again to the portion of the renewable energy, 3 sections. In Egypt, we talk about inclusively 5 sections currently. We talk about hydroelectricity, we talk about solar part, we talk about wind part, we talk about nuclear part, which it's very good, supporting that Egypt's plan ahead by 2027 to opening the first nuclear unit in Egypt to produce almost we talk about 1,200 megawatts. And in addition to that one, we improve and develop a part of the green hydrogens. And this is, like I said to you, it's a challenge of the country under the umbrella of Prime Ministry that we shall go for that production of green hydrogens. So inclusively Egypt running very fast, and the last commitment had been settled in last meeting between Prime Minister and all private section invest in the sustainable energy. We talk about almost 5 new plants for solar. We talk about almost 7 plants doing well for the wind plant. So in such consequences, and our commitment within the next 6 months is our plan to produce 4,000 megawatts, which is coming directly from the sustainable energy. So as a sentence and a commitment inside a COP27, Egypt is doing as per their schedule and commitment plan that's go directly for green energy, go directly to reduce the dioxide emission, and also commitment to switch for equal carbon till 2023 and reducing to zero carbon by 2050.
Yeah, and there's also a priority which was repeated more than once, whether by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi or Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, seeking or saying that we seek that Egypt turn into a regional hub for renewable energy. We mean that we are not working only on satisfying our local market needs, but we need to be a regional hub, because this is going to be another stage of using renewable energy, because this is the future, or this is what was said more than once, that green hydrogen, for example, is the future. Simply, it's the future. And if we are seeking industrial development, for example, it's not going to work without renewable energy. If you want to also elaborate on that.
I think that's how, as a story, empirical stories and also experimental stories, you will find that Egypt, one of the 19 countries in the world, has a very successful stories related to dealing directly with renewable energies. But I talk about in realities, we have been start our project 2017, and we achieve a very good consider solar plant. It's supposed to be the second farm globally in the world, and this is Pinpan, which had been
Aswan.
Yeah, which had been already designed to produce 2,000 megawatt, and I consider this one in one of the 2 mega projects globally had been achieved like this in successful story. Back again to the second one, which the wind farm, it's Gabal Zayt wind farm, and we're producing almost 580 megawatts, and we talk about 320 turbine, and this is very advanced technology, adapted turbines, which it's a good story for a successful directly to go for renewable energy. Part of also that part, we already get the portfolio of green hydrogens, and we succeed to produce this year almost 1.6 million tons of green ammonia, which allow to us to supply as a fuel to the oil mill ship lines, allow to us to go for that such a big market in the future and booming very much quickly. So we adapt ourselves as a population, as a commitment from our leaders that our country go directly for replacement solution, a portion of economy, because we are a country exposed and expand a lot of money to import portion of the fuel, fossil fuel, portion also for electricity, because we use that import of gas or fossil fuels to produce electricity. So the portion of that one is coming reduced time by time as per our commitment for the next 4 years. So the next 4 years we'll watch it while under the focusing of our leaders that the transition to Egypt will be very quickly high interest within 2030 that achieve the 45% of total production of electricity coming from green energy.
Sir, what you have just said reminded me of a very important summit which took place here in Egypt by the end of June. It was the EU-Egypt Investment Summit, and President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi had a roundtable discussion with heads of many of European countries, and they were speaking about this issue in specific. If you want to have here wind energy, then we need a factory for turbines and towers. If you want to have Egypt as a solar energy hub, then we need a factory for producing the solar panels. So it's a win-win situation. It's an invitation or a call for all who want to invest in this regard that Egypt is ready. We do have industrial zones, no more bureaucracy. You can have just the license like that, you name it. How do you see this as a cycle which can be a win-win situation for all the participants?
Because we study well what's going the needs of Europe, even currently or in the future. Europe expanded, or they have expenditure just to import different types of fossil fuel in addition to the natural gas. You will find it's a very huge amount. We talk about $515 billion per year, which is very huge. So I consider almostly, if we talk about very consumable countries like Germany, like UK, like France, and also Italy, in addition to the portion of Switzerland, you will find such countries, they have very high score of consumable countries for natural gas and fossil fuel. This portion of investment now inclusively had been settled by Europe that localized $28 billion shall be invested in the North Africa countries. Why North Africa countries? North Africa is the closest countries close to the Mediterranean Sea pool. So the Mediterranean Sea pool is contributed by 23 countries. Almost all of them, they are in a shortage of electricity, in a shortage of natural gas, in a shortage also for importing a lot of fuels. So the closest countries close to the pool of the Mediterranean Sea supplied directly to Europe is Egypt. So Egypt is the first one, is inclusively facilitated by a lot of resources to be centralized of energy hub.
Yeah.
Second part of that one, that even the study of NASA showed that the almostly intensively solar areas is the North Africa and the middle of Africa. So the closest portion of North Africa is the most, I consider, likely to all the Europe countries to invest in the renewable energy for that part. For that reason, Egypt settled very good even meetings with Europe Union countries last year, and I think that's even year has a lot of changes in the way in their mind investors, in even targeting that they need to use the benefit of wide distance and wide space area in Egypt, in Tunisia, in Morocco, to be countries for their favor to produce renewable energy directly through their solution using the electricity cables shall pass in the Mediterranean Sea to the other side of Europe, and this is very fast way allowed to them to import electricity without any extra charge like they desert or exert in importing such fossil fuel or natural gas.
Further, Prime Minister Madbouli highlighted that Egypt succeeded at COP27 in mobilizing international support to establish a loss and damage fund and launch a negotiation track on a just transition that considers the social and economic dimensions of the agreed upon transformation under the Paris Agreement. This was our COP.
Okay. This is what I said to you. I think in our discussion I said to you, our COP27 was more strong in targets and also achievement in addition to the recommendation indeed of the conference. I think that what happened is a lot of negotiation in two goals also in Baku. The first goal is the fund. The fund was an obstacles for a lot of countries. In addition to that part, the main topics how to go together for the green, and even the stories had been delivered was not interested because it's inclusively for very expensive technology, was not an easy for all traditional international countries to import because it's very expensive. So
especially
the way
African countries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the way they tackling the story of the target of COP29 was completely very sophisticated, was not so easy like what we did, and also COP28 in Emirates had been settled some transition between what happened in Egypt, what is going in Dubai, and what is delivered to what's going in Baku. So the two obstacles that we have is which country will deliver such a fund. European Union had been settled, like I said to you, almost $28 billion as a part for the climate change. And the climate change, it happened in countries which is has a lot of facilities allowed to them to expand for a technology and import such technology. So that's very difficult story to deliver for the poor countries. The second part is how we can use the story of Egypt, the very successful, to go from transition. A country had been settled for wides of age to use fossil fuels in all their facilities, electricity, fuel for cars, or even for domestic fuels. You will find that is completely for fossil fuel. Now Egypt had been transferred completely in different stage. Start from 2017.
Despite the difficulties we are facing in financing and funding,
Exactly.
we are in a challenge, but still we are trying to achieve what you have just said, sir.
But don't forget that our story is still successful story. Yes,
Sure.
we have a lot of obstacles. Yes, we have a lot of problems. And this is what we try to even transfer to our people in Africa, all countries. I just remind myself even, when I'm instructor on the Abdel Nasser leadership, which under the umbrella of sport and youth ministry, we already try to explain to the African countries, and specifically the key person leaders in that such countries, that how Egypt, coming from poor country in electricity to a very strong country in, we're not talking about the shortage what happened in the gas itself, but we talk about technology of our power plant.
Yes.
And our infrastructure, our transportation net is a lot of successful story allowed to us to be evaluated from a country is stable and applicable to receive any such of foreign investment without no problems. Because now all the foreign investors is coming for a country has low price of energy, has infrastructure, has skilled work hands, and I think that's all conditions allowed and already allocated in Egypt.
To echo what you have just said, sir, this was eye-catchy. A 36-year-old Kenyan climate scientist who was in Baku, he said a very frustrating, let me put it this way, statement. World is not listening to us. World, if the world was listening to science, maybe we would not be doing these COPs in vain. How do you see these words by a 36-year-old scientist and coming from Kenya, meaning the center of Africa?
Let me translate this one to the speech of Mr. Simon Stella. It's the Secretary for Climate, Executive Secretary of the United Nations. I think that's is a very angry speech. So we try to put in 10 sentences how the conclusion that's delivered, because you know what, that's maybe tomorrow or after tomorrow, next week, sorry, there is the G20 G20 summit will be in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. So the story now already delivered, that's a message to them. Gentlemen, all the countries, all the leaders, you shall listen to one focal point, is the climate change, our core business for the future. Because if you think about how to improve your industry, how to improve how to reduce your inflation, how to improve yours to be stronger, unique, even hard coins, you will not find a solution unless you try to cooperate in the way how to tackling and stop the changing on the climate. So the climate is the solution for your economy, the solution for your future, the solution even for your population. So if you go in make a connections between the Kenyan representative leaders and also the Executive Secretary for United Nations climate changing, so you will find that is still a bridging. There is no non-trustabilities that the country's leader will listen to the really damage change on the climate. So now I consider that's red alarm. I consider that risk is coming. I consider that's even the ultimate risk is coming unless these people will not feel well and deliver their commitment to deliver that such fund which to improve their negative effects by their industry, which reacted directly to the weather of the countries and created a lot of flooding, storms, raining, heavy raining,
so heavy rains, drought,
prices of the foods, and also wrecking their lives. So the matter right now is coming from the remorse of the peoples, even their honesty with themselves, even their life for a future, and the future of their countries.
And the future of the coming generations, because we are not only responsible for us, we are responsible for our children, we are responsible for the coming generations. We hope, I don't know when the whole world is going to learn the lesson, but we hope that it's going to take place in the near future.
Our target is to deliver the message and from time to time to remind the peoples. Because end of the story is, like I said to you, if you're not trusted with your people, you're not trusted nothing. If you didn't believe very much that the way to stop the climate change is right now. If we late, now the story will be more dangerous.
Let's cross our fingers that tomorrow is going to be a better day.
Inshallah.
Well, sir, we were very much delighted and honored to have with us Dr. Jamal Al-Qayyoubi, Professor of Petroleum and Energy. Thank you very much.
Thank
sir.
you very much for you also. Thank you.
And by this we come to the end of our episode. Stay tuned to Al Nile TV International always for more. Now I'm going to leave you with the most important economic events that took place in the past 7 days. Till we meet again same time on Nile TV International. Many thanks for watching. This was Nermeen Abdurrahman.
Lieutenant General Kamil Al-Wazir, Deputy Prime Minister for Industrial Development and Minister of Transport and Industry, spoke during a press conference saying, "The government is working to encourage local industry and attract more investments. The government is committed to implementing huge projects in the fields of industry and transport, and there is an ambitious vision to transform Egypt into a regional industrial center." Fawzi Abdel Jalil, head of the Sanitary Ware Division of the Cairo Chamber of Commerce, revealed the success of the division's negotiations with a number of Turkish and Chinese businessmen to attract investments estimated at about $50 million in the sector. 16 commodities controlled 45.1% of Egypt's total exports during last August, with a value of $1.557 billion compared to $1.675 billion during the same month of 2023, a decrease of 7%. The decline comes with a decrease in exports of 8 commodities by 39% during August 2024 to reach about $654.1 million compared to $1.073 billion during the same month of 2023. Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli witnessed the signing ceremony of 2 memoranda of understanding to produce electricity from new and renewable energies, solar and wind, according to the BOO system, with a total capacity of 5,200 megawatts. Distributed, this capacity is between 3,100 megawatts of wind energy and 2,100 megawatts of solar energy. A responsible government source confirmed that the government did not ask the International Monetary Fund to increase the 4th tranche of the loan to $2 billion instead of $1.3 billion. It is worth noting that the director of the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva, visited Egypt at the beginning of this month and met with President El-Sisi and confirmed her understanding of the size of the challenges facing Egypt. Egypt entered the top 30 largest industrial economies for the first time and also ascended the throne of the largest industrial economy in Africa after displacing Nigeria, which fell to second place. The total industrial output of the Egyptian economy achieved $76.1 billion, and the number of industrial establishments increased to 56,500 factories in 2023 compared to 34,383 establishments in 2013, with a growth rate of 64%. Egypt is close to signing a partnership agreement with a Chinese company to establish a factory to produce tires for various types of vehicles in the Suez Canal Economic Zone, with initial investments of $360 million. The expected project aims to produce 6 million tires annually in the first phase, to be later increased to 12 million tires annually. The Chinese city of Taida in Egypt, in Ain al-Sufna, has made Egypt the third largest exporter in the world in the production and export of fiberglass, after America and China. The Chinese city of Taida is on its way to become the Hong Kong of the Middle East, literally, whether in the manufacture of cars, motorcycles, mobile phones, screens or textiles.